That's a big work for our humanity right now is to figure out what you really want to do and then just, do it because money is not the problem. Money is in everything. Everything is touched by money somehow. And you just have to figure out how to run a business and learn how to do marketing and sell it. And then everything is going to be okay. But, you could have the greatest idea, but if you don't know how to market it, it's going to just sit there.
Hello, and welcome to the Success Sessions. My name is Jessie Johnson, coach to spiritual teachers and healers building seven-figure businesses. I am super excited to introduce my dear friend, Taz Rashid. He is joining me on Zoom from Chicago, right?
Yes, I am in Chicago.
And Taz is a brilliant DJ, artist, and entrepreneur. And we've been friends for a long time. He and Shrikala went on tour in Florida years ago. And he's one of the funniest, most humble and generous people I've ever known, and just brilliant. In a space where most people are really living in a paradigm of struggle, Taz consistently is not participating in that. And so I was really excited to bring him on and interrogate how he so brilliantly does what he does. So Taz, thanks for being here.
Jesse, so much love to you and Shrikala, and thank you so much for having me here. This is awesome. Thank you.
Super fun.
Yeah.
So just to introduce you to our people on a more intimate level, tell us about your relationship to success, in particular as a child, and in particular in ways that you were like the misconceptions you had about success as a child.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a great question to start with. I'm from Bangladesh. A lot of people, obviously, I'm not white, so people may think, but I'm an immigrant. So I moved to America in 1990. And if you're not familiar with where Bangladesh is, it's a country right next to India. It's a small country, like size of Iowa, with 160 million people. So we have a, population problem there for sure. But so it's that whole Southeast Asian mentality. And a lot of these cultures have similar ideas around success and money and what it means to be a man and all these kinds of things. So I grew up in a household of a lot of creatives, music, art, dance, things like that, but it was always hobbies, okay? Never a full-time thing. So everyone is either an engineer or a doctor. It's you have both options kind of thing. So I grew up with that mentality of I have to do what my parents kind of did, and that's successful because they're secure, and it wasn't about what brings you joy and bliss and what makes your heart sing. These are these things that I've learned just in the last 10 years, being in the more spiritual transformational scene and things like that. But the conversations there is how are you gonna pay for your family and for your life, so you have to do these really safe type of paths, that's the prescription, in that matrix in a way. If you follow these steps, so these are the instructions, and you're going to be successful. And that was what I grew up with. And at the same time, my parents were really cool. They were both doctors, but they always took me to music classes, art school, things like that. So they always initiated that, and they saw that I was into that, so they inspired me to do more and more of that. They weren't but they were still this is a side hobby, but they wanted me to do it. But so in my mind, growing up, success was being rich and secure and taking care of family, and it didn't matter really what I was doing. That was the idea of success. It was just having money and being secure was the idea of success. That's what I grew up with.
I haven't talked about this in a long time, but as I listened to you, it reminded me that I have had the awareness that when I was young, I actually think that there might have even been a poster, one of those on the bulletin board or above the chalkboard kind of posters that had these little cartoon versions of the different careers, teacher, nurse, doctor, postman, mailman. Those are the same thing. like garbage man, you know, like
Yeah.
different sort of caricatures of the roles in society. And that there were maybe like 10, maybe 20. But these were like, they were, whether they were designed to do this or not, they were teaching me about what roles were available to me as a professional contributing member of society, as
Yeah.
well as the financial component, because I knew without anyone having to tell me that certain jobs on that list made money and others were like less so. I didn't even understand what that meant, but I knew that there was a class component to these things. And when I went to college, basically what happened was that I added a cartoon to my little mental framework of an artist who was broke.
Yep.
It was like, it was another legitimate option. It was there. And the financial component to that option was very low. And
Struggling, broke.
That's what I chose.
Can't make it. Yeah. Which I think is interesting because there are millionaire musicians and artists and people who are just thriving. You know what I mean? That's the weird part, is that when I was a kid, like, why are they always talking about the starving artist and not the thriving artist? You know, like, why are we putting our attention on the scarce, you know, that you're going to suffer? Why not, like, put attention on the one that's, like, in the Grammys, and how did they do it? Study their process.
So this is the perfect segue into your story, because you have clearly done that. What happened that catalyzed you, first of all, choosing to go into art, not just as a hobby, but as a career?
Yeah.
Also doing it in such a way that sort of, I mean, because from the moment that I met you, you were on this path of like, I'm not interested in the starving artist model. I'm interested in the artist, and I'm interested in the abundant version of that. Yeah. How did that happen?
I'll just give a little bit of a segue on how I got to that point. Honestly, like, so I did that whole, so again, like, I bring up this idea of the matrix. So like this whole, even now we're in a matrix. I'm following different programs, and even this transformation path that I'm on, you know, I'm prescribing to certain ideas and perceptions and viewpoints and things like that. But I'm happy with the process that I'm on right now. So after college in 2006, I was like in the corporate world, working for the Hyatt, sales manager position. Then I sold copier machines. I worked in real estate. I worked in the energy business. I worked in the university. So I had all these jobs, you know, all like following these false dreams. Like, I really didn't know what I really wanted to do. So my idea, my sense of purpose wasn't really there. Like, why am I actually, like, why am I living? What am I living for? And what's my true mission? And I really didn't fully encapsulate that into my life. So I was just like kind of throwing the darts to wherever stuck. And so I was doing all these jobs just to make money and get by, and going with that old prescription of like, I just need to make money and make a living. But none of those things made me happy, you know? And during those times I was partying a lot, and I'm really happy that I partied as hard as I did, because I think a lot of those drugs like allowed me to get to those points where you're so low, like down and kind of like depressed in a certain way. Sometimes after the high came the low kind of thing, that I was just like questioning them, like, why am I living? Like, what am I living for? Like, who am I? You know, all those kinds of questions that you see and, you know, TV, and be like, why am I here? Who's God? So I started asking these deeper questions on like, what is my sense of being and my purpose here, you know? And that's when I started looking inward, and that's when the journey really began. And that's where the magic really began, because in that process, I really reprogrammed my entire subconscious to like learn these ways of newer abundance in my life. And I, you know, this is also the same time The Secret had come out. I don't know if you heard of that book, like The Law of Attraction. Started studying things like Esther Hicks and Abraham and Course in Miracles, and just, you know, a lot of the new thought kind of mentality, which is based off some, you know, Eastern principles. And then, of course, it's fusion with, you know, Western kind of like thought process. And that allowed me to reprogram the idea of like, hey, if these people can do what they love doing, why can't I? You know, what's blocking me other than myself? And I saw that I was the one that was blocking my path into this, you know, greater expression of who I'm here to be. And I didn't know that I was going to be a full-time musician at that time, or a DJ or a music producer, and what I do right now, especially working with the yoga world and mindfulness. But I knew that what I was doing was not it. I just knew that for sure. And around 2011, like that was like my big break. Like I got fired from like this university that I was working at, and the teacher and the guy the who not the teacher but like the guy who let me go was like, you got to do something else. It is not here. You're super talented, but you got to go do something else. I also went to India right then for like a month with my wife, and it was like a 28-day course. And I just had some of the biggest transformation where I literally made a pact with my divine, God, whatever you want to call, I call it God. Whereas like I'm going into business with my divine, and I'm here to give my greatest offering, which is around music. Okay, I knew that music was it somehow. And so and when I came back to the U.S., I wrote down my mission, which was to transform humanity with music, because that was my mission. And I wasn't even DJing at that point. I was a musician, but like, you know, I played piano, guitar, things like that. But that started the process. I wrote that down, and that got me into attracting the right situations, people, circumstances, events in my life that would allow me to go step by step into where I am right now. You know, it was definitely not an overnight anything. It was all like synchronicity connecting one thing to another. So there was a lot of trust in that process. I always reconnected to like, is this connect with my mission? Yes, then move forward. Is it not? You know, say no. You know when it's a full body yes and move forward kind of thing. And I definitely learned that the hard way when I said yes to those things that were not a full body yes, as we all have. And so learning that process has been really important. And it's an amazing journey, and I'm grateful, and I'm happy I went to school for business. One thing I'll tell you that, you know, like somehow that stuff kind of like stayed with me in the back, and I was realizing I was doing things without even realizing it, you know, from the business standpoint of like marketing, connection, this and that. And so I'm grateful to have that background from college in marketing, organizational leadership, entrepreneurship. So that college education was worth it. It is worth it, in my opinion.
That's super powerful. First of all, I love learning these new things about you. I feel like I know you really well in many ways, but there's a lot of new information coming through.
Yeah.
For me, it's really fun. I'm really struck by a few things. One is your articulation of the value of contrast, or these kind of low moments in life.
Oh yeah.
That catalyze so much change and clarity for you is really, I think, really important to emphasize. I think it's quite human, so that comes up in a lot of people's stories, but it's almost like there's a kind of reassurance in it, I think, so that when people then encounter their own struggles, or even for us, when we encounter our next struggle, because you know that there's going to be more, that we remember, like, oh yeah, on the other side of this, there's something really juicy. Like, I don't know, I don't have to know what it is, but there's something coming.
Yeah.
And the capacity to remember that while the suffering or the contrast or the struggle is happening is really, really helpful. So I just appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
And asking yourself the question, there were two questions that I heard you say that were really pivotal. One is, what am I here for?
Mm-hmm.
And the second was, all these other people are doing what they love and thriving. Why can't I? And so that it's almost like you're guiding us through like a little system here. This is very good.
We're going through a funnel right now.
Yeah, that's right. And then this language that you used about having a contract with God, this has actually like been coming up so much lately. I woke up this morning actually, and I was just like played with Shri that like my mission is to help people fulfill their contracts with God. So I just loved that language. And then the last thing that I wanted to really put neon lights around is because I think that most people are missing this, and the way you spoke about it was so clean and clear, this, what I would call like a mission-based decision-making process.
Yes.
That you have that mission, that you've had it for almost 10 years, and that you use that to decide. It's so clear the way you spoke about it. So I'm just celebrating all of that.
Yeah, having the clarity is key, and I think that's, I mean, the thing with America is that this is like, in my opinion, I've lived in like 7 or 8 countries, and I still think America is the best country to live in. That's just like, I will clearly say that. I've lived in Asia, in Europe, you know, a bunch of different places, you know, Middle East, wherever, in America, there's so much freedom. There's almost like a little too much freedom that we have too many choices. You know, like what I was saying, like when I grew up in Bangladesh growing up, I literally thought that I could be a doctor or an engineer. Those were really my only two options. Like when you were talking about those different characters, I saw two people that are both two brown dudes. One is an
So
engineer and
good.
one's a doctor. One's got the stethoscope and
Wow.
one's got like the ruler or whatever,
Yes.
engineer. And that was my thing. But like in America, you're like, what do you want to be? You can be anything you want, which is cool. But it often, I think, leaves people so confused that it's the undecided major in college, and nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there is. We can't decide. So that sense of purpose, it's really not easy for a lot of people. Like, why am I here? And it can evolve. You know, my sense of purpose, like right now, the last 10 years has been around music. And maybe that'll be till I die, but maybe it'll shift. Maybe I'll want to do something else in 5 years. You know, I'm like, oh my God, I really love, doing these kinds of events, and that's not related to music or whatever. I want to get back into art because I used to be a painter and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, we
There's
don't
room
know
for
what our
evolution.
path, yeah, we don't, I don't know what my path will unfold into, but I know that it is evolving, but it is not easy for most people to find out what their purpose is, because they don't have a system to figure that out.
Mm.
You know, because there are systems out there you can use to really feel into what your purpose is. So I think that's a big work for our humanity right now, is to figure out what you really want to do and then just, do it, because money is not the problem. Money is in everything. Everything is touched by money somehow. And you just have to figure out how to run a business and learn how to do marketing and sell it. And then everything is going to be okay. But you could have the greatest idea, but if you don't know how to market it, it's going to just sit there, you know?
Yep.
You
How do
know.
you define, I totally do. You're speaking my language. I love it.
Yeah.
How do you define success now?
Hmm. Now would define success as a feeling of fulfillment, along with financial abundance for oneself and those you care about, and at the same time learning and growing and doing what you absolutely want to do.
So good. I just like feel it. There's something about your energetic transmission. I just want to like highlight this because I think
Mm.
everyone that's watching this is like tuned in, tapped in, turned on to that energetic transmission.
Mm.
And yours is so like smooth and penetrating, and there's like a density to it. It's like it's not all over the place. You are so like steadfast. And
Thank you.
so there's just a tremendous benefit, I think, that
Yeah.
people experience just being in your presence. You model clarity in a way that's very powerful. So if anyone's like curious, I think that this is one of your superpowers, Taz, whether you realize it or not.
Clarity.
Yeah. Yeah, like that you know what it feels like, and so you have that as your standard, and when it's not clear, you get clear.
And I think it's directly connected to our level of confidence as well. Like the more confident we become doing what we're doing and knowing that that is our true path and our offering, that clarity is like a byproduct. It's like you don't have to think about, oh, how am I going to be clear? It's like you are in that power, and that is your emanation and offering.
Where does your confidence come from?
Well, for me, it comes from knowing that I'm doing what I love and I'm doing it really well, and I'm offering that to the world. Like when I have my clients, whether it's an event or a festival, I know that I'm offering A+ quality content for them. So I know that I can charge what I need to charge because the value is there. So my confidence is directly related to that level of quality. If I was, it's like knowing your lines in like a play. Like if I know the lines well, I've rehearsed them, I practice them, and I memorize them, and I feel it. You're just confident, like an actor. But if I was like, oh my God, what is that? Like, I'm not really sure what it is. You're just, that confidence level is not there.
Mm-hmm.
So I always would think that, like, I just need to know my shit if I'm going to like go out there and do something, and that level of confidence has to be there. So like, know what you're offering and know it really well, that to the utmost level, and you believe in yourself and what you're selling. Because everyone's selling something.
Mm.
Okay, a lot of people in our scene has issues with business and sales and marketing and this and that. Those are all just programs, from their childhood and whatever that we have to break through, and I've gotten through all that to the level where I'm very confident talking about finances and money and what would it need for me to work with someone, and not like really quickly. It's just like a conversation piece. It doesn't have to be a heavy conversation. So know your worth, and know how to sell your worth and ask for it.
Hmm. My sense, I mean, even just in we met probably, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly when that
New
Florida tour
York,
was. It was a
2003,
while.
4. Yeah, you came down to Florida
Yeah.
with that on that tour. I think that's where we met, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you came down to Miami. I remember that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So
I'll never forget that. That was a good
I
tour.
know. I
Such a
was just
different
gonna,
time running around in a
yeah.
van.
Yeah. So I mean, that's actually a really great point. You've changed a lot. You've innovated a lot. You've come up with new services, new programs, new ways of helping clients, new like things that you're focused on. You're much more focused on the yoga community now and
Yeah.
making music for yoga than you were at that time.
Oh, yeah.
So in my perception, you've made these changes. Like there was a first for a lot of things in your business. How did you cultivate the kind of confidence that you're talking about the first time that you did any of those things in your business?
Yeah. I remember my wife and I, we would do these like weekly meditations. So we gave up like all our Friday nights from our friends or whatever. We're like, you know what? We love doing these meditations. We're going to hold a weekly Friday night meditation. And it was a love donation event. We weren't even charging. This is like 2009 to like 2013, I think we did this. And this, people would like, we would get from like 30 to like 80 people coming to these, weekly. There was like a chakra meditation we did, like an energy transmission meditation. People really enjoyed it, and they would just stick around afterwards. And like sometimes I would always have cool music and I would play it. I wasn't a DJ yet, and people would stick around and be like, "Oh man, this music's so good. Who is this?" and this and that. And I was, for a while, I was like, maybe I should just like, throw some playlists together and we could all dance or something like that. So I started doing these parties, like a conscious party, like no alcohol type party. After our meditation, people are all opened up energetically. They're like, "Oh man." And so this is the party that became Club Divine. And I remember that first time my wife and I did it, we we had like 50, 60 people. And like at the end of the night, we were just like, we were like two kids, like, "Oh, what happened? How much money did we make?" Because we were like getting the dorm money. We're like, "Oh my God, we got like $700. We were just like ecstatically like, "Whoa, we made some money," kind of thing. And I remember that feeling. I'll never forget that night. It was just like this feeling of possibility, like this, like, "Oh my God, like we did something so cool and people just loved it so much." Because you could feel that people like really enjoy, and you guys have done so many events, so you know where I'm coming from. And then like that exchange was there where we like felt this like financial abundance. $700 is it's not like crazy money, but for us back then, for like an event that we did like love donation type, and then we were charging like $10 at the door or something like that, it just felt that confidence like snuck in that moment. I remember that. Like it was just like something shifted like at that night where I was like, "All right, we're gonna do this now." And then so these things slowly, so these were like little steps, like next level. And then something else happened, we're like next level. So like you can't read about this stuff in a book, you can read all the Eckhart Tolle books and stuff, but until we have the visceral experiences in our body of like letting go, whatever it is, it's like in our issues in your tissues kind of thing, until we fully experience it like cathartically or whatever, sometimes it's still like an idea. So that was, for me, it all became about experiencing things and these shifts of transformation. And these were the experiences that took me from one level to another of possibility.
I think that one of the most important themes of this conversation really is about confidence, Taz. I think that you are speaking about it in its complexity and nuance in a way that's really important. And I'm hearing you talk about I think two, if not more, kind of extremes. On one side, the value of preparation as a
Hmm.
confidence building tool, that you didn't
Yeah.
just like close your eyes and blindly throw this event. You thought it through, you kind of used the evidence, you were paying attention to the signs that were coming to you, listening to feedback. And at the same time, anytime you do something for the first time, there's a risk involved, and you got to be able to just like go, like
Yeah.
put your ass on the line and go all in.
Yeah.
And I loved the language that you said, like that the confidence just kind of snuck in there. So both, right? Actively, I think there's even like some meme about this, you know, that the best tool for confidence is preparation or something like that. There's the thing, there's the like teaching
Yeah.
about the value of preparation for cultivating confidence. And at the same time, recognizing that anytime we take a leap, anytime we do something for the first time, we're going to be less confident because we've never
Hmm.
done it before. And that there is something about like developing a deeper confidence. I think this goes back to your energetic transmission. You have that deeper confidence in yourself, in the divine, in your contract, in your mission, that gives you a sense of resilience. I feel
Hmm.
your resilience, your kind of determination, your belief in yourself, your belief in possibility, that has it feel more spacious and easy
Yeah.
when you actually do take the risk. Is that resonating when I describe
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. And you know, with the preparation, one thing I didn't mention that's very important, I'm realizing is that, and I recognize I just did this out of just like, oh, duh, I should do this. It's like and this is for anybody, whoever's interested in whatever. If there's something that you're not fully doing yet, but you maybe want to do or are interested in, that level of research is extremely important. But I think what's more important is to reach out to people who are actually doing it. So what I did was in 2011, when I was like interested in transformational parties, I like literally set up meetings all throughout Chicago with everybody who was actually doing all these events already. Okay. So I would go talk to these leader people and just like, hey, what's up? You know, I'm interested in this. Like, what do you like about it? Just like started picking their brains. And then those became partnerships to where like they were helping me with my events. I was booking those guys for my events. And then we were all like, so I was like, oh, wow, I did those. I didn't just try to do it myself. You know, I did it
Mm,
like, but I was always like in collaboration with people energetically, with the mind. And like, it was like a really good thing to do. So no matter what you're interested in, doing that research, reaching out to people, those are those like little steps that people who think, how could I do that? It's like, well, you don't have to become a superstar right away. It's like you start those steps, but taking steps, you know, regardless of what it is, looking it up. Meetup was a huge thing for me back then. I would go to all these like from 2008 to like 2011, 12. I would go to different meetups, meet people, and that was part of my research and preparation was to see how things are done.
mm,
And and I took from it what served me, and I saw how some people did things. I'm like, I'm not going to do it like that. You know, it's just like,
mm.
so you just like take from it what you need and you move on. And, but that part is important, connecting to people who are doing it.
I think this is I just want to name this again. Part of why I was so excited to have a conversation like this with you is because I see you as one of it's not exception exactly, but that's the best word that I'm coming up with. I think you're rare
Mm.
specifically in the spiritual transcendental communities.
Hmm.
You are so deeply devoted to your spiritual life and to building spiritual community. You are a visionary. You have enormous vision, and you're very practical. You're
Mm.
very thoughtful about your planning. You're not, it's like, in other words, you're incredibly spiritual, and you're deeply integrated in your material life.
Very.
And
I've got a baby. I have to be.
it shows up like 10 years before the baby was born in how you thought about collaboration and partnership. It's
Hmm.
like, I think it's really important because from the outside, people can look at you and be like, whoa, Taz has like, you know, so many followers, or he plays all the yoga festivals or whatever, and sort of put you on a pedestal and think that there's something that you did like karmically to just put you there. And I believe in karma too, but this is also, you fucking put in the work.
Yeah, a lot of work. It's a lot of orchestration and calling people and meeting and reaching out. It's like it's a lot of hustling at the end of the day in a good way. It's like hustling for your purpose, like you better show up like 10 times, so I like the effort has to be there. Here's the thing, it's like we believe in the divine grace, like God's like our embracement and like process. So, that's a big part of this whole thing, but our personal effort has to be there in my like we have to show the F up, and really put in everything that we really want to do. It's not just gonna like, like it's not we just think about it and I'm just attracting this in my life. Like, no, like go do it, like do the work. And that's I just did the work, and that's how like I think like these festivals when I was working with like Wanderlust and Yoga Journal and whatever teacher, I never reached out to any of these companies or institute. Like, not everything was through invitation. Human design system. I'm a projector. That means like I didn't know about it back then, but it was like, hey, wait for the invitation. And I realized like all these things that I got involved with, it was somehow I kept doing what I was doing, not like, oh, I have to be there. I was like, I was just doing what I was doing. And then someone noticed and reached out to me kind of thing.
Mm.
And then once you're in the party, then you can do what you want. That's what a projector like. Once you get invited to the house, you can go into whatever room and do your own thing, but be invited to the room or be invited to the house. And then that's how I live, at least. And because there's so many people I could reach out to and stuff, but I just don't do that. It's just not my style. I know that when the right time comes, someone will connect me there, but just keep doing my thing. And then I love it. Like all my events, majority of all my events that I do are through somehow people connecting me to somebody, or they reached out to me. And once I have a relationship with them, then I can always reach out next year being like, hey, I'm doing this now. You want to do it or something like that. Mm-hmm. But initially it's usually been, because I've seen it when I do reach out to people when they didn't ask for it, it's a lot more difficult. The value's not there. The financial abundance is not as great. Mm-hmm. I've seen that. Mm. And I do not want to prescribe with that style anymore.
You know what, we don't always talk about human design here, but it's something that I think about a lot. And I've had a ton of projector clients that I taught sales to. So I think it's something I've thought a lot about. And I think it's really valuable that you're surfacing it, in particular, because actually I'm thinking about the early networking and hustling and collaboration that you were doing when you were doing the research for these conscious parties.
Yeah.
That to most projectors would not sound like living the design. I shouldn't say most projectors. To a newbie who's just learning about human design, that might not sound like it. But what I hear and am connecting the dots around as you talk about it is that you were initiating the relationship so that you could be visible, right? So that someone could know who you were. You were asking the questions in a way. You were inviting. You were using your design to like not initiate a relationship, but invite a conversation. And then from that conversation, they invited you. They took you to new places.
Yeah, because like by them knowing what I did, they would be like, hey, you want to come play the didgeridoo after this DJ set that I'm doing? I'll be like, sure, let's do it. And a lot of those things I did without getting even paid, I was just like showing up to the energy. That's the thing. Like I knew that there was a purpose in doing those kinds of unpaid kind of gigs because I was building my own power through those. And some of those were like, I waited till like 1 a.m. to play the didgeridoo for like 10 minutes for a group of people, no pay kind of thing. It's just like, I'll never do stuff like that now. I'm not never, but I will not do stuff like that unless there's money involved. I'm just being honest. But back then I was just like, oh my God, this is like an honor. Like I get to do this. And it was like, I get to do this. That's how I was looking at it. And, but that's part of the process of finding your own voice. Like we say yes to some things, then we do that because we need to, like I've done a lot of exposure gigs, festivals even where they're like, hey, we'll put you in front of all these important people, but we can't really pay you. I'm just like, okay, well, then I did it. And then like 20 amazing, different yoga teachers or other festivals saw me. They're like, hey, we'd like to book you. And I'm, oh my God, I get it now. I get it.
It's the value of networking.
Yeah.
Right. Like one of the things that I learned early on when I started the business was about what you're talking about. And now there are certain situations where I will pay to be on someone's stage, or I'll pay to perform, I'll pay to teach. That's called sponsorship. That's
Yeah.
how most corporate events are paid for,
Yeah.
right? That's
True.
what advertising is. It's like there is a value in all three, I think, of the paradigms, right? Of
Yeah.
getting paid to do your service, of doing an exchange in certain contexts to build a network or to build a community, and in paying to be seen.
Yes.
Because if somebody else is filling the room and all you have to do is show up, and then you get seen by 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000 of your favorite people to serve and work with, like, that's worth
Yeah. Yeah,
millions of
I
dollars in
truly believe
Facebook
in
ads.
advertisement. I believe in advertising, marketing. Like, I think it's, especially Facebook. Oh my God! Like, think about it. Zuckerberg, right? Yeah, he's got 3 billion people at our fingertips. You just have to pay for it, but like, that's
Yeah.
incredible. Even I don't know much about Google ads as much, but like Facebook ads, like, ads manager and thing, there's like a gold mine waiting there.
Mm.
Like, and you can like figure, like, for me, like, I'll use Facebook ads to like find people that are looking for me, you know? So I don't really promote to like my audience as much because they're already at the party, but I'm like reaching out to people who are looking, and it's just
Yeah.
like, it's an incredible way, and it's worth the investment because you can find true, fans and people that really are looking for that music from a music standpoint, a musician standpoint, or any product, if you're a coach or whatever, like, but like, you know, I don't know what's going to happen to that world in like 5, 10 years, but like right now, it's amazing what's available to us through Facebook Ads
Yes.
Manager if you know how to
Yes.
work it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I love that you're bringing all this up. As a musician, as a DJ, as a conscious human with the values that you have, and like at this time, yeah, it's super fun. And as a projector, to hear you talking about all these things is super fun.
Yeah.
How can we help you? Like, anyone who's watching this, they're a fan of Taz. What are you like? What can we do to support what you're doing, learn more about what you're doing, listen to what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, my purpose, like I said, is to offer music for communities and any kind of really experience. But my focus is really with yoga teachers. My audience is really yoga teachers, meditation teachers, yogis, mindfulness people, transformation scene. And people are using this music in their playlists for their yoga practice, dance. So my music has a lot of purpose as well. Like, I have my purpose, but my music is very purposeful for how and why I create it. I don't just sit there and write songs. Every song I create, I know how it's going to be used in a playlist. So whoever's out there, like, I'll send you a link, Jesse, that you can include where people can get some free music that you can use in any of your videos, or anything like that. So I will include that. And really just look me up on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. Everything's under DJ Taz Rashid. And follow me on Instagram. And I share what I do, and I just produce a lot of stuff and I get it out there. So that's going to be the best way. And my big thing in the next few years is going to be licensing.
Mm.
Like, using, because everyone is going online now. So I'm creating easy programs for yoga teachers, meditation people, for using what I'm creating in a very easy, royalty-free kind of way. And that's going to be a big offering in the next few months for me. And I have great plans for that, to make it easy for anyone out there to access that in a way that they feel nurtured, taken care of, they feel a value, and it feels safe and legal, because a lot of people don't know the legalities of how to use music. So I'm going to just make a very easy system for people.
That's amazing. I mean, it's happening. It's been happening, but it does feel to me like we're kind of turning
Mm-hmm.
that moment, and the amount of content that's being produced is
Oh my
just
gosh.
exponentially increasing, and the amount of quality music that is necessary in order to make that content the most beautiful, the most accessible, the most receivable. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, for people to really take it in, music is such a key component. So I think that what you're doing is brilliant. I'm super
Yeah.
grateful. We are using some of your music already.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. And of course, I do live events as soon as we're back out there. I travel all over the world. I travel mainly around the US right now for events and festivals, private events, yoga studios, yoga festivals, whatever. So I'm definitely available for that. And now, because of COVID, I've been doing offerings on Zoom. So I looked at an obstacle of like, oh my God, and I turned it into an opportunity, and that's my motto in life is like, how can I take obstacles? Obstacles are actually just opportunities until we shift that in our perception. And how can we make that work? Like every problem, there's a solution somehow. So that's how I looked at it. And I think it's going to be something that I'm going to be doing even after we get back out there and doing public events. I'm probably still going to be offering these Zoom music events. I'm literally able to DJ from my studio to like hundreds of people all over the world, and they're practicing yoga, meditation, dancing, whatever. And the experiences have been phenomenal to the point where people are rebooking like for the next 2 weeks or whatever. Like, how can we do this again? And their audience is really loving it. So it's just like, I wouldn't have planned to do that before this virus thing happened, but now it's like a thing. Like, people are excited about it, and I'm excited about it. It's not like, oh man, I got bing bong, I got a DJ in my room. I'm like, I can feel that energy through like my whole setup here and stuff. So it's cool, and I'm open to new possibilities through that. So if you want to do an event, hit me up, folks.
I love that. I love that. We'll put all the contact information in here, but if there's something that you guys want to know specifically, put it in the comments. Like, let any questions, any feedback, any ideas. If you see more opportunities for Taz or myself or our collaboration, let us know. We want to hear from you. I read every single comment and respond personally, so just know that I will make sure it gets to the right person's eyes.
Beautiful.
Taz, I love you. I'm so grateful for our friendship and association, and I can't wait for the next installment. Thank you for your time and generosity.
Love you as well. And thank you again for the invitation. A beautiful conversation. Anytime, Jesse. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all be well, be safe, and enjoy the journey. We'll see you next time. Everything you want.